What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla SPY, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down why NIO is showing some potential alongside other stocks out there as we have a possible cup and handle-like pattern that's developing right here. And if we break past resistance at this 4.5 area, I think NIO could be pushing a lot more. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, let's talk about the market. So as far as NIO is going, we are looking a bit more bullish as we're trying to approach our 200 EMA. Now, if there is a bit of a sell-off right here, I wouldn't be surprised if we grab some liquidity around that 4.3 area. But as you guys can tell, the trend is turning a little bit more bullish because we are making higher lows over and over and over again like this. So this could continue to favor more upside if this continues. So it is showing some life. If anything, I think that NIO is doing a good job. And if we continue this trend, we're going to remain bullish. As long as we don't lose 4.3, I favor the upside a bit more. Now, for other factors, although there is a sell rating from Goldman Sachs, I do want to note that the price-price ratio is going up a little bit, which means that NIO is building a little bit of strength so far. That's a good sign. We also tend to see more green on Tuesdays about 55% of the time historically, and we tend to see more volatility around the last hour of the day. Mostly, we're actually green about 64% of the time, so we like to run at the very end of the day. Besides that, what is happening to NIO? There's some news coming out about how there's price wars in China, but despite that, despite the ongoing price wars that are threatening margins, NIO saw an improvement in their Q3 earnings. So we'll be waiting on the next couple of weeks for us to get to the Q4 earnings report, which is when NIO is going to show us what their margins look like. We should be looking for a nice improvement, especially as we saw a record amount of deliveries. So I hope for the best for them, at least moving forward. Their ability to boost margins amidst the price war is a big win, and we're hoping that they double their total deliveries in 2025. The amount of growth is going to boost their revenue, and that's going to be very bullish. So once again, that makes me very excited. For other factors out there, NIO is wishing everyone a happy Chinese New Year. So I just want to wish you guys a happy New Year as well for those who are in China or of different descents that celebrate this. So I just want to wish you all the best. Moving forward, I just want to say that for the market, we just had some major earnings. We had Aapl and Intel announce their earnings, and tomorrow we have ExxonMobil. Aapl saw very, very interesting reports. We saw record earnings, slightly beating expectations, despite the fact that their iPhone sales slipped a little bit. The standard iPhone 16 models are an excellent value, if anything. And we're looking for some nice growth, at least as time goes on. So let's look at some charts and numbers just real quick. Apple reported their best quarter ever with the revenue at $124.3 billion, up 4% compared to a year ago. Not bad whatsoever. And then we also have these numbers here. The iPhone sales are a little bit down by 0.8% to about 69 billion. Mac sales, iPad sales are all up, but then their wearable home devices and accessories are still a little bit down. So besides that, everything else is quite decent. Not bad whatsoever. That's something I just wanted to note. Besides that, they have been looking for a little bit of a decrease in their Chinese revenue. They're down about 11% year over year. Not really a surprise given what's going on right now. And with the competition that is rising, that's something that's worth mentioning. Besides that, we're looking for some interesting growth overall. Most of their metrics were good, especially their margins. And I would say that overall earnings were not too bad. They're also looking for, once again, a continuation of growth, at least for the upcoming quarters. So not bad, in my personal opinion. Looking at what else we're expecting, with their estimations beating on their earnings, I think that that's a good piece of news. That's why the share price is up. Intel, on the other hand, had some weak forecasts, despite the fact that they beat on their fourth quarter earnings. So their EPS was at 13 cents adjusted above expectations. Revenue at 14.26 billion above expectations. Their revenue declined for the third straight quarter despite that. So what's good is they beat on earnings, but their guidance was not as strong. Despite that, they're still in the green. That's a good piece of news because of the fact that they're looking for nice chip demand growth. Besides that, tomorrow is going to be Friday, January 31st, the last day of January 2025. Know that at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have some employment numbers coming out, not to mention some PCE price index reports. This will give us some ideas about how inflation is looking, so get ready for that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the PCE data. This tends to cause a lot of volatility, so wait and see what that leads to. Besides that, there's nothing else that's too crazy that's going to be coming out. But we'll see what happens with the PCE report. Besides that, I want to mention that tomorrow is also going to be an interesting day for SPY as we have a 3.62 put to call ratio. We have over 2 million puts expiring and just over 300 plus thousand calls out of the money and 250,000 in the money, which is about a total of over 550,000 in total. So a 3.62 put to call ratio, there's 3 puts for every call expiring tomorrow. Market remains neutral, but we're getting closer to greed as we're seeing buyers returning. Momentum is still at fear, but we're approaching all-time highs, and I think that we're seeing a big shift in terms of sentiment. So what's my view of the markets? NIO has a big green bar right here. I hope that we could capitalize on this. What's going to likely happen is we might get a little pullback tomorrow back down towards these EMAs in the 4.3s, but I'm hoping we get a bounce and we try to return to our 200 EMA at 4.5. We'll see if NIO could break that to really start pushing higher. If not, we'll be watching it very, very closely like this. So I see some upside potential as long as we don't end up holding below 4.3. I think we could be dipping to the 4.3s before it tries to bounce. And overall, it has a bullish structure. Looking at SPY, and I'm going to be kind of quick with the rest of these, it's looking bullish, especially because Aapl is still in the green after earnings. We have a gap to fill, so I think that we're going to slowly shuffle, but then push up towards that gap fill and make new all-time highs. I think Apple's going for that 607.5 area or above, but it's very slow right now, very choppy. But it is looking more bullish on the 4 hours, so I favor upside a little bit more. Same thing with the QQQ. We have a big gap to fill up here around 529. I think that with Apple's earnings coming out good, this may slowly, it's going to shuffle like this, but slowly push up for that 529 area, looking a bit more bullish. The Russell 2000 is dipping here and might continue to consolidate in this range. This could be forming like an inverse head and shoulders though, so it's possible it dips a little bit more back down towards 226 before it tries to break out. But this is once again forming like a slanted inverse head and shoulders, so there's upside potential for later on. Might see a small slowdown back down to 227 before it tries to bounce, so just keep that in mind. For ES, we are trying to fill this gap. It's doing a good job. It's very resilient. We're technically making higher highs and higher lows. Might dip down to fill this gap, come down to like 6100 and start bouncing. I think the 6130s are coming very soon. For NQ, we look a bit more bullish. We have a gap to fill around the 21,850 area. Might dip here before it tries to bounce. There's also something else that's going to help this. Bitcoin could retest 104,000 near our 20 EMA before it tries to bounce again, so watch for that. But what's going to help the QQQ and the others is Nvidia. Nvidia is clearly trying to base right here. It's trying to form a base. This typically favors a bounce that's coming of a nice double bottom like structure. I want to see if we could try to form a base here before we see some kind of breakout move. So we have this resistance to watch for just like this. I'll be watching to see if Nvidia could try to break out of this wedge that's beginning to form like this. So that's going to be very key for the way we end up continuing to move. If we get that breakout, I'm going to be looking for an attempt to push for about 132. That's where this previous support becoming resistance happens to be. So I think we'll get a little bit tight here. Then we'll see if we get a breakout. It might be coming as soon as next week. Tesla's looking decent. So what's going on with Tesla's, we have this trend line of resistance. We rejected many times. In this case, Tesla's trying to break through it. If we break through this, we're going to be looking for an attempt to get into the 420s. If 414 breaks, we're looking for 420. And if we end up losing support right here at this 393 area, we're looking for a dip. But overall, we're looking a lot more bullish. I think there's a lot of potential in this. So the question remains, can Tesla break resistance? Can we try to get back above some key levels? If we do, I'm going to be like very excited about this. If we could break past this yellow resistance, I think we push for 414 then 420. If we don't break past this and we can't hold above 405, we could reject back down to 390. Might shuffle a bit, but I'm hoping we get that break later on, so just keep that in mind. For Aapl, looks a little bit more bullish. We're up 3%. There's a possible inverse head and shoulders like structures, a left shoulder ahead and then a right shoulder. We could slowly inch our way up to about 246. If we break this, we could slowly start pushing higher. There's most definitely potential in this to form a nice recovery move following Nvidia's footsteps. AMD looking decent. If we could break past 119.5, I'm looking for that gap fill for 122. For coin, looking decent as well. Nice accumulation structure right here. I'm going to be looking for an attempt to push for the 310 area. I might shuffle a bit before we get there, so keep that in mind. Amazon's range bound. As long as you hold above 233 and 231, I think we're going to be fine. Could dip a little bit more before we see some buyers defend it, so keep that in mind. For Meta, we have this structure here. Might dip a little bit towards 680, and we'll see if we bounce or not. But look for a little bit of a dip. Microsoft has dipped quite a bit. We have to see if we could base around this like 410 to 415 zone all the way down here. I want to see if we could base before it tries to get back above 420. If we reclaim 420, it's going to be a good sign. We dumped quite a bit after earnings, which weren't even too bad. It was just because of one of their revenue sectors that was below what we were expecting. And Google, excuse me, Google looks a bit more bullish. As long as we hold above 202, I'm going to be looking for a breakout to 205 plus, eventually the 210s. We were consolidating for a long time, and now we're showing some nice signs of trying to break out here. So I see potential in Google. Might try to break out a lot higher. This could be a nice winner, so keep that in mind. I also want to mention the VIX has not fully filled its gap here. It might come down to fill this gap as it's looking a bit more bearish. So we'll see how this goes for the VIX. We're slowly inching down to fill that gap, and that could be a sign the market's going to push higher. The market is favoring upside, and this could help NIO. Hopefully, NIO forms a nice cup and handle, and we get our good amounts of earnings very soon. We're also going to be looking to see what happens with their deliveries, which is coming out in just a couple of days. So get ready, guys. Until then, look for a small dip to about the 4.3s before we see an attempt to bounce to 4.5. Overall, it's showing some life. With that being said, I appreciate you guys so much for listening. Have a good day and peace out.